There is a huge new scoop out of Lucasfilm coming our way via Kamran Pasha and his Patreon, link in the description below. Is this a true rumor? Is it a real scoop? Well, it's coming from a source that has had major breaking news in the past. So let's dive in and find out, is Kathleen Kennedy on the way out? Hello and welcome. If it's the afternoon when this video is coming out, well, I wish you well on this afternoon. If it's any other time, guess what? I wish you the same. And I hope that you are taking every advantage of the moments of your life. Make them meaningful. Remember, your life really does matter. We're going to be talking all about Lucasfilm. Before we do, make sure to click that like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to the algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about that notification bell. We also covet your comments. We actually read them and care about your thoughts, what you're thinking. So please put one down below and let me know what you are thinking about. All right, so we are diving in today to talk about a rumor coming from Kamran Pasha, specifically from his Patreon. Once again, link is in the description below. Before we get into the rumor, let's talk about the context surrounding what Kamran is claiming. So as you all know, Kamran Pasha had one of the biggest scoops of 2022 when he exclusively revealed ahead of the trades by 48 hours minimum that there was a hiring freeze coming to the entire Walt Disney Company. To say that is a gargantuan claim is an understatement. The idea that the entire company would stop hiring anybody, well, that's just ludicrous, except that it was true. And so Kamran really scored a major hit with that one. It shows that at least some of his sources, and we don't doubt any of them, well, they're fantastic. And so we have to give massive credibility to what Kamran says, and we have to take the gravitas with it that comes from somebody who's had a scoop such as that. Now, Kamran is saying that he has a source at Lucasfilm, and he's talked about this source on several occasions, even given this source a code name, and that code name is Sparrow. 5 days ago, Kamran Pasha said on his Patreon that he had actually finally met in person with Sparrow. And so I want to read a small portion of that, but you are going to have to go to his Patreon in order to know the full story. I don't want to do anything that would be untowards or inappropriate in taking something behind a paywall, so this will be just a very small part of that. So here is a very small clip, a little portion of what he said. Kamran says, after some negotiation, arrangements were made, and I was able to meet Sparrow in person and thank them for their help. They are putting their career on the line and providing the information I have posted to this Patreon. But they believe that it is the only way to fix the rot inside Disney and Lucasfilm. All right, and so Kamran had said on many occasions, he's talked about the rumors, the scoops that he's getting out of Lucasfilm coming from this individual named Sparrow. We now know that he was using someone, an intermediary, to achieve that, and he's codenamed that person Spymaster. But now Kamran says he has met with Sparrow, and that Sparrow is a real person really working at Lucasfilm, and that Sparrow has the connections necessary to know all of these big things. Now, another thing to notice about this is that Kamran says that he met Sparrow in person. I want people to understand the significance of what Kamran is saying there. So, Mr. Pasha is currently working in Pennsylvania, as far as we know, and Lucasfilm, of course, is not in Pennsylvania. So, to meet in person is quite the thing. It would mean that either one of those individuals, the only way I can see this is that they traveled to make this connection. And so that indicates to me that this is a major event to pull off. And so I'm very pleased for Kamran that he's been able to make this happen. All right, so now let's dive into the meat and potatoes of this rumor, this leak, this scoop that Kamran has via Sparrow. Again, we're only going to pull a very small portion of this from his Patreon account. So if you want to see the full story, this one having come out yesterday, you're going to have to go over to that Patreon to read everything. And there's significantly more than what we're reporting on right now. I'm just giving you the bare bones minimum in order to cover the story. Here is what Kamran says that Sparrow, the source with whom he has met personally and works for Lucasfilm, gave to him. This is the quote. "The preliminary media briefing packets are being created for Kennedy's departure. In lieu of a celebration of many Star Wars projects, Kennedy's departure will be celebrated instead, with events focusing on the most successful female voice in Hollywood. The reason they are not celebrating both Star Wars and Kennedy? Money. Their budget is not awesome. Some of the events will be interviews and retrospectives on her. The packets being put together are biography stuff with things pre-highlighted. They are putting so much money into this that Star Wars Celebration is on hold for 2 years. This Iron Man swan song was part of her leaving arrangement. Lastly, Kennedy was hesitant to pull the trigger on this. Iger's office forced the issue." Now that is where the quote ends from Sparrow at Lucasfilm. One of the reasons I think that this is such a major report is because of the short duration of time we have between now and the Star Wars Celebration. So Star Wars Celebration is April 7th through 10th, and it's located in London this year. So in order for us to find out the veracity of this claim, we don't have to wait very long. We're going to know exactly how good Sparrow is in just a few weeks. We'll find out if this is another one of Kamran Pasha's major scoops. This one honestly would rival his scoop in 2022 about the hiring freeze. Kathleen Kennedy leaving and making Star Wars Celebration about her, at least in part. Well, that's a huge deal. So we'll find out. Now, the thing is, I have reached out to my sources in and around Lucasfilm, and they don't know about this, but that's not to say that it's not true. That is to say that Lucasfilm is a big entity. Sparrow is allegedly very high in the studio. And so if Sparrow is in a place that is higher than any of my sources, Sparrow may know about this ahead of time and may have given this information to Kamran Pasha. Once again, those two are said to have met in person, and this is a major claim to make. Now, is Kathleen Kennedy going to announce her retirement at Star Wars Celebration? Well, I definitely think that is a major possibility, but I don't know that it's true. I don't know that because I can't corroborate it, and none of the sources that I have spoken with have been able to corroborate that claim. But it would make sense if it happens, and part of that is because Kathleen Kennedy, we know, she is now getting up in years, and maybe she wants to work another decade. I don't know. Maybe she wants to work into her 80s. I don't know. What I do know is that everybody I have talked to now for years has consistently said to me, and I'm talking about people who actually know these sorts of things, have consistently said to me that Kathleen Kennedy was going to exit the door in late 2023, possibly 2024, if there was another Indiana Jones 5 delay. That hasn't happened. So I think that probably she's heading out the door in late 2023. Now, would Disney allow her to make a Star Wars Celebration be mostly about her and her legacy? Well, I don't know that either, and I don't know how much budget they would be willing to allocate to her for her to exit out the door. Another thing that is peculiar is that Kathleen Kennedy, I would assume, would want to make the circuits in the areas that she's most comfortable. So I would imagine that she would want to go on a tour with the various trades. She would want to give interviews to the very highest of journalists and investigators, etc., people who would want to interview her in very nice environments. So Star Wars Celebration to me is not quite that. But again, this is coming from someone who has a great track record, so we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. Now, Kathleen Kennedy, should she retire, we will definitely then begin probably hearing about who is going to transition into that place, who's going to take over the studio as she exits. And even if she did announce her retirement at Star Wars Celebration in this year, in just a few weeks, she would not exit the studio immediately. That would not be effective immediately. clearly she would have a replacement come in at some point. And again, that could be late 2023 once Indiana Jones has wrapped up its box office, or perhaps it's going to be in 2024. And so that's really the story. That's what we've got right now. It makes me wonder, how many people now are looking more forward to Star Wars Celebration than in the past. I guess we'll just have to find out. I don't know that they're going to sell a whole lot more tickets to it, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm also curious, as we get into Star Wars Celebration, will we get a video? Will we get a trailer? Will we get a teaser? Will we get some information on the next Star Wars movie? And will that involve Rey, as we have heard and as sources have relayed to us? The other thing I'm curious about is we know that Jon Favreau in the background has been, shall we say, politicking a bit, but not in the way that we may have anticipated. So you might have anticipated that Jon Favreau would politic to take over Lucasfilm, but I don't know anything about that right now. But what I have been told is that he's been politicking to protect his characters that appear in The Mandalorian and to keep them out of the grips of directors and writers that he's not associated with, writing movies and writing screenplays and scripts. That's what he's apparently been more interested in with his Gollum creations. What I would anticipate is that if Kathleen Kennedy is really on the precipice of announcing her retirement, we should start to get more news about Jon Favreau and Gollum Creations, perhaps in greater negotiations with the Walt Disney Company, in order to get to the point where Jon Favreau either takes the lead or a new contract is worked out for his benefit for whoever is in charge at Lucasfilm, taking over the successor from Kathleen Kennedy. Now, all of this, of course, is rumor and speculation. However, it does come from Kamran Pasha. It does come from the Sparrow source, so we will just have to wait. But we don't have to wait long. This is one that has a finality to it. We will know come early April whether or not this has come to pass. And, I know for a lot of people out there, based on our coverage of The Mandalorian this morning, I know a lot of people would be very happy to see Kathleen Kennedy go. I know that Disney probably at this point would be happy to see Kathleen Kennedy go, if only they can figure out a way to do it that has very little drama. It will be interesting to watch and to see the fallout from Lucasfilm and what happens there. Then again, maybe this doesn't come to pass. Maybe Sparrow doesn't have it, and maybe this goes into late 2023 before we get an announcement, or 2024. It's all very exciting. It's a huge, huge rumor, and if it comes true, it's one of the biggest scoops of 2023, which would make Kamran 2 for 2 on giant scoops back to back. What a place to be. Folks, if you enjoy content like this, make sure to click the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to those algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about the notification bell. We do covet your comments. We care about what you think. So leave a thought down below. And folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.